guys, welcome back to the channel. It's your girl Lori. If you're new here, I am an alternative therapist, which means I use a lot of energy work on top of traditional type of therapy, but I'm also a person who suffers a lot with anxiety, depression, overthinking, and I'm also an empath. So if that sounds like you and you may be interested in some of my content, consider subscribing and hitting the bell in the corner for notification. You'll get notified every time I post. All right, so do you know someone or are you living with somebody who has anxiety? Let me explain. Living with somebody with anxiety is, I have it, so I'm maybe a little bit more sympathetic or empathetic to it, where if some people who have the anxiety and they're living with somebody who's never had it or they're just in denial about having it, it can be absolutely havoc wreaking upon their relationship. So, drinking my coffee, by the way. I thought that it would be a good time to do this video because last night my daughter really had a tough day. She just did. She was really like, she was in a massive anxiety attack, uncontrollable shaking, crying, hyperventilating. In that moment, it is not your job to fix it. As much as you want to fix it, is not your job to do that. It is also something to be very mindful of. If you don't understand why, or if the why doesn't make sense to you, it's not your why, so it doesn't have to make sense to you. It's not something that you should get angry with. Anger, I've said this a million times, is not really a true emotion. It's a byproduct emotion where anger comes from frustration, fear, not being in control. There's like a whole bunch of things that lead into that anger. So a lot of times if you're living with someone and you don't understand it, or if the person you're living with doesn't understand it and they see you melting down and they don't get why you're melting down, doesn't make sense to them, they can get really nasty. And then that just creates this whole other ball game. Then it makes the person going through the anxiety feel as though they're less than, feel as though something is wrong with them. The list is endless. So if you are living with someone with anxiety and you happen to not have it, first of all, congratulations, because it's a tough thing to carry, right? Anxiety is tough. Anxiety, depression, mental health, tough thing to carry. However, there's always this root issue to whatever it is. It could be a root of childhood. It could be something with your past. It's where overthinking comes into play. Like all of those things happen. So if you're seeing someone go through it, sometimes just being there, giving that person the support. So with she and I sat on the floor with her. I held her close. I held her tight, right? Almost like you would with a blanket, you know, the weighted blanket. I have one, I love it. So, you know, it's almost like this like security. So I did that and let her just do it until she was like, I just want to be alone. So at first I wanted her to calm down before I sent her off to be alone, but then I did. So it's about understanding your boundaries with that person, understanding what their needs are. You don't have to know what their needs are, but just being there. Educate yourself on it. If you don't struggle with it, or you've never had it, or maybe you have and you just never knew what it was, educate yourself on anxiety from people like me, and there's a million people like me in the world, you know what I mean, who have had anxiety, and now we teach on it and stuff like that. Educate yourself on it. Know the resources that you have. Don't think that it's weak if you have the anxiety. Don't judge somebody based on their anxiety. Don't always think it's attention seeking. Now there is that thin line that it can be, a whole other video I'll do on that. But when somebody truly has it, it doesn't have to make sense to you, because honestly, it's not about you. I mean, it isn't. It's about them in that moment. And I understand how sometimes it can be all consuming, but let's say if you're out and you see this person starting to freak out, the root issue can be deeper than just the anxiety. It could be social anxieties. It could be things like that, of people staring at them, fear of embarrassment, all of those things. So keep in mind that what they're feeling is a very true thing. So when you are watching somebody struggle with it, it's the hardest thing is not to absorb it. My back is actually thrown out as we're speaking. I know I'm sitting and I look like, oh, she's fine. No, because I took on the energy from her. So my allergies were bad. My back is thrown out. It will get better because it's not my stuff. I will dump it, and I will tell you guys how you can like take the energy that you're carrying from yourself or somebody else and dumping it so you can relieve yourself of that. I'm just letting it absorb because she's still not great today. So if I'm already in a like weird place in my body, I might as well continue to take more energy from her. that's if you're an empath and you know how to do it. Don't just do it because you're like, okay, that sounds like a good idea. It's not if you don't know how to do it. Or if you don't know how to stop yourself from doing it either. Those both things can be bad, but be kind to them. Be kind to somebody struggling with anxiety, because even though you don't understand it, their situation is extremely real to them. Okay. So I hope that that helps a little bit. I wanted to give you guys a little bit of a tip. I do try to do these about 4 to 5 times a week of just different things that you can always go back to reference in case you need them. But just be kind to the person who's struggling with anxiety. It's not a reflection on you or the lack thereof of anything like you not being able to help. And it's hard. It's hard not to absorb that energy, but be kind and be mindful. Okay? Talk to you soon.